Hi, this is Les and Amy from the RevGenetics Podcast. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube and now on Spotify, where we do a deep dive on supplements and longevity studies.
Yeah, and today we have a really fun topic for you. We are looking into this proposed digital platform that acts kind of like a new cheat code for aging.
We really are. It essentially tracks your body's internal inflammation and your gut health to give you a totally personalized blueprint for living a longer, healthier life.
Right, so let's just dive right into the core of what these researchers are actually looking at because they're focusing on this big concept that they call inflammaging.
Yeah, Inflammaging. But we promise to keep things simple, so let's break that down for you. I mean, the easiest way to think about it is to imagine a slow, smoldering fire right inside your body.
Exactly. We're not talking about a raging fever or, a sudden infection that keeps you stuck in bed.
No, not at all. It's more like this very quiet, almost invisible heat. It just continuously burns in the background over decades and decades.
And that background heat is exactly what quietly causes the everyday wear and tear. The morning stiffness, the cellular breakdown that we typically just brush off as normal aging.
Right, we just assume getting older means feeling achy. But when researchers actually look at people who live to be 100 years old, the centenarians, they find something pretty incredible.
They really do. These individuals naturally have almost none of this internal fire. I mean, they are navigating life without that constant low-grade burn damaging their system.
So the big question is how, right? And the study reveals that their ultimate secret actually lies right in their digestive system. It basically all comes down to their gut bugs.
Yeah, the microbiome. But honestly, you can just think of these specific beneficial gut bugs as a massive crew of microscopic firefighters.
I love that analogy. Just millions of tiny firefighters.
Exactly. And their whole job, 24/7, is to put out those smoldering flames inside you.
Okay, so if I have this internal fire and my gut bugs are the firefighters, how do I actually help them? I mean, how do we give them the right gear to extinguish the fire?
Well, you have to give them the raw materials they need to do their job. The paper highlights that certain types of foods act as the absolute perfect fuel to keep these microscopic firefighters strong.
And the researchers specifically point to the staples of the Mediterranean diet for this, right?
They do. We're talking about loading up your plate with deeply colorful vegetables, a lot of high-quality olive oil, and just a massive amount of natural fiber.
The fiber is really the key here.
Oh, absolutely. Because when those beneficial gut bugs break down that natural fiber, they produce specific compounds that act exactly like biological fire extinguishers in your bloodstream.
Okay, so feeding the body these specific foods is basically handing your internal firefighting crew the best possible equipment.
Yes, to just entirely extinguish that slow-burning fire.
But how do we actually know if our dietary changes are working? Because, you can't just guess if your internal fire is getting smaller.
And that is the real breakthrough of this proposed framework. The scientists want to measure how well your firefighters are doing by creating something called the Longevity Inflammation Index.
Which sounds super technical, but it's actually really simple to visualize. Just imagine a classic video game health bar hovering right over your head.
Right, with a score that ranges from 0 all the way up to 100.
And what's a good score?
If your personal health bar reads anywhere between 85 and 100, it means your firefighters are winning. Your internal fire is fully contained, and you are aging exceptionally well.
Basically, hitting a score that high means your internal environment biologically mirrors one of those healthy centenarians we talked about.
Exactly. And so instead of just reading generic advice in a magazine, the researchers want to integrate this video game health bar directly into your daily routine using a highly advanced digital app.
Right. Imagine having a smart application that constantly communicates with your smartwatch to see how you're moving and sleeping.
And it analyzes the photos you take of your lunch.
Yeah, it pairs all of that everyday information with occasional at-home tests that check on your gut bugs. And then it tells you exactly what your unique body needs today to keep that health bar as close to 100 as possible.
It's always great to have RevGenetics with us as we unpack these cutting-edge ideas.
It really is, especially since they maintain such a strong, long-term focus on evidence-based natural compounds for aging research, like their curcumin and polyphenol supplements.
Which perfectly aligns with today's deep dive, because giving your body the right natural tools is exactly what you need to help put out that smoldering internal fire.
Having a philosophy that ties directly back to actual research makes optimizing our health span so much more straightforward.
It does.
Yeah.
So the science is clearly there, but let's talk about the friction. How does this actually look for someone trying to live their life tomorrow? Or rather, what could this look like a few years down the road?
Well, let's paint a picture of that. Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning. Before you even get out of bed, your smart device softly chimes.
Right, because it tracked your heart rate variability and noted that you tossed and turned all night.
Exactly. It knows you completely missed your deep sleep cycles. And that lack of recovery immediately raises your risk for that internal smoldering fire to flare up.
So what does the app do?
Well, because it already knows the specific makeup of your unique gut bugs, it instantly sends a recommendation to your phone for a very specific breakfast.
It might suggest eating a bowl of yogurt topped with a handful of fresh berries.
Right, because it knows that exact combination of fiber and nutrients is perfectly tailored to your body's current needs to get your health bar right back to a perfect 100.
It sounds like pure science fiction, but the blueprint is actually being drawn up right now. We do need to keep this grounded in reality, though.
Yeah, we definitely do. Right now, this entire platform is still just a proposed concept by researchers. You can't just go download it from the App Store today.
No, you can't. And currently, to get the kind of detailed biological data this app would need, you have to literally mail in blood samples and cold-shipped stool samples to a laboratory.
Which is just a massive hassle. As you can imagine, doing that on a regular basis to check your inflammation levels can be incredibly expensive for the average person.
Not to mention just structurally annoying to deal with. And we also have to talk about the human element here, because technology doesn't magically solve psychology.
Oh, absolutely. Even if the technology was totally free and instant, sticking to a strict, highly personalized daily diet routine for a whole year is incredibly hard.
I know an app telling me to eat a bowl of berries is great in theory, but when it's 10 o'clock at night and there's leftover pizza calling my name from the fridge, my longevity score is the absolute last thing on my mind.
Right. We crave junk food, we skip meals, we get stressed out. Changing your lifelong eating habits is a massive behavioral challenge.
And a simple notification on your wrist might not completely solve human nature. That psychological barrier is exactly why the scientific community has a lot of work ahead of them.
So what's the next step for them?
The necessary next step for these researchers is to take this proposed app platform out of the theoretical realm and test it on thousands of real people.
And they can't just do it for a few weeks, right?
No, they have to run these massive long-term clinical trials over several years. They need to unequivocally prove that following this digital health bar actually extends the healthy, vibrant years of a person's life.
Right, because it's not nearly enough to just prove that an app can lower a digital score on a computer screen.
Exactly. It has to translate into humans actually living longer, disease-free lives out in the real world.
But honestly, despite all those hurdles, the sheer optimism of this study is entirely contagious. What we're witnessing here is a massive fundamental shift in the entire philosophy of medicine.
It really is. I mean, for centuries, our medical system has been entirely reactive. We just wait until people get visibly sick, and then we try to treat the disease with interventions.
But what this research represents is a monumental move toward a proactive future. We're moving toward a world where everyone is handed their own personalized biological cheat code.
Empowering you to stay optimally healthy and keep that internal fire extinguished before it ever has a chance to catch.
Which leaves a final provocative thought for you to mull over. Imagine a future where your great-grandchildren look back at how we currently just guess at what to eat every day.
They might view our random dieting the exact same way we now look back at doctors from the 1800s who didn't even know they needed to wash their hands.
That's wild to think about. The era of guessing might finally be coming to an end. We hope you found today's episode on the published study insightful.
Thank you for listening to the RevGenetics Podcast.
RevGenetics.com for the best longevity supplements on Earth.